If you're looking for help to improve your walking technique or just to help improve your movement in general, you've come to the right place. Hi, I'm Todd Martin, family medicine physician, Argentine tango instructor, Tai Chi practitioner, and creator of the Walking Code. In this video tutorial, I'm going to give you all the tips you need to put yourself on a path to better walking, with more consciousness, more fluidity, more confidence, and less impact on your joints. This tutorial, which I shot in 2018, is going to be divided up into several different videos so you can watch it in more manageable segments. My goal is to help as many people as possible move better by breaking bad habits or, in some cases, relearning correct movement patterns after an old injury. To do that, I'm going to need you to help me by hitting that like button. I need so many people to hit that like button that YouTube is going to share this video and more of my other content with everybody out there who is searching for how to move or walk better. This tutorial is going to be good for you whether you've watched all of my other videos or if you're brand new to this channel. So please enjoy all the way to the end. Hi, Todd Martin here from the Walking Code. I have a variety of other videos, fairly short, that are already posted on walking technique. But today I wanted to do something different and do a full soup to nuts, beginning to end discussion of walking technique, so you can see the whole perspective from the basics all the way to a little bit more advanced thought on how to walk correctly. Now, a lot of people do ask why post videos on walking technique. Well, the answer is a lot of people, whether they know it or not, don't walk correctly. And poor walking technique can be a cause of a variety of medical problems. There's so many people that suffer from conditions like plantar fasciitis, bunions, hammer toes, pain in the front of the knees, which is this area here, hip pain, lower back pain. Sometimes those sort of things can be caused by injury, but a lot of times those sorts of chronic pain are caused by chronic dysfunction in the way we move that causes our body to be out of line and out of alignment. When our body's not in alignment, what happens is the joints are exposed to excessive wear and tear, and over time that can lead to injury that causes any one of those medical conditions that I mentioned earlier. When we learn how to move our core correctly and keep our body naturally aligned, then we can go through an entire 80, 90, 100 years of life and keep our joints functioning well and not breaking down, causing pain. So that is what we're going to discuss today, kind of start to finish walking technique. And I'm going to show you some areas where people might have problems and show you how you can use your core to fix those problems and to understand those problems a little bit better. What I'm going to do is begin with posture. If we don't have good posture, then you're not going to have good walking function. So posture is a good place for us to begin the discussion. So I'm going to run through this pretty quickly with some posture tips that you can use for yourself. Number one, we're going to start from the top of the head and then we're going to go down to the feet. So first of all, good posture, we should have the head lightly kind of floating upwards. This is a Tai Chi technique that we teach. Imagine a string tied to the crown of your head and floating up, like a balloon is attached to it, and just elongating the neck, which then travels down to the rest of the spine, and in a gentle fashion, causing this elongation. Now, we say lightly floating up to distinguish between that and what some people would do is kind of try to pull the neck backwards, which creates a lot of tension back here. We don't want that. We just want the spine to naturally extend, floating upwards of the head without tension. The next part we want to do is go down to the shoulders, and we want to keep the shoulders down, so not hunching up, not hunching forward. We want to have the shoulders down and back, and kind of locked into their sockets here. So you don't want your shoulders to hunch forward like that. You don't want your shoulders to hunch up. And you also you don't want your shoulders to pull back like this. This is a common mistake in posture, pulling the shoulders back. And what I mean by that is actually pulling back on the scapula on both sides, arching the upper back, and then what happens there is I end up with a tilt of my pelvis. That's also not good posture, even though that might look like a military posture there. That's not a functional posture. We want to have head floating up, shoulders down and back, chest relaxed. We want to have the core relaxed. Now, a lot of people would say the core should be tight and contracting the core muscles. I disagree with that, and that goes against Tai Chi theory. In Tai Chi, we realize that the core is being used for movement. When we keep the core tight, what we're doing is really just tightening one muscle group against the other. That's not producing any function. So what we want the core to be doing is helping to level our pelvis and keep our spine straight, but that is done without tension. So our waist should be nice and relaxed so it can help move our body, not tight as if we're trying to lift weights with it. So we go down now to our pelvis. I mentioned just a second ago that we want to keep our pelvis leveled. That means I want to keep my pelvis, which is this bowl-shaped bone here, I want to keep it level to the ground so it's not either pitching forward, we call it anterior pelvic tilt, or pitching back, which we would call a posterior pelvic tilt. Either one of those misaligns the spine and can contribute to a lot of different joint problems. So I want to have my lower abdominal muscles actually help to keep the pelvis aligned by pulling up on the tailbone, and that keeps everything nice and vertical. The next thing as we go down to the hips and to the knees and to the feet is we want to keep things lined up. I want to keep my spine in the center. I want to keep my hips lined up over my knees. And I want to keep my knees lined up over my ankles. So if I were to be standing with my knees in, like this, you can see that my knees aren't lined up over my ankle joints, and that's going to cause a lot of stress on the inside of my knees, and it's going to cause a lot of stress on my ankle joints. It's also going to cause a lot of stress on the arches of my feet, which over time will start to collapse. This is not easy to see visually, but if we don't keep our weight centered correctly, you might notice that your center of gravity is over the big toe and not over the whole flat of your foot. You should feel your whole flat of the foot down on the ground on both feet when you're standing. So if you're feeling all of your weight centered over your big toes or over your outside little toe, or the fifth metatarsal, if you're feeling your weight out there or in here, that means your hips and your knees and your ankles are not going to be aligned, and that over time is what can lead to significant wear and tear, pain, hammer toes, bunions, all kinds of foot and knee problems that we want to avoid. So let's go back to the top, floating up of the head, shoulders back and down, chest relaxed, not pulling back with the shoulder blades. Core, abdominal muscles relaxed so you can move fluidly, but also engaged so they're helping to keep your pelvis corrected, meaning tilted in a neutral position, so it's not tilted either back or forward. Knees lined up right over the ankles, and ankles lined up over the feet, so you can feel the whole flat of the foot. One of the things you can do to test your posture is to line yourself up against a wall, and see if you can stand with your heels against the wall, your bottom against the wall, and your shoulders against the wall, and stand and keep all that together. And you should be able to bring your head back a little bit and have your head touch the wall also. If you're standing with a significant tilt of the pelvis like this, you can see my bottom and my heels are touching the wall, but my shoulders are not in contact with the wall. So that means I need to level the pelvis out, and now everything is in contact with the wall, and that's going to be an effective posture. First thing I want to point out when we're walking is we want to keep our feet facing straight forwards. They might be a little bit apart like this, or when I'm standing, or a little bit closer together, but my feet should be facing straight forwards. If you stand normally like this, with your feet pointing out in kind of a duck-shaped position, that's probably a good sign you may be walking like that also. This is a very common walking problem. We call that the duck-footed walk, where the feet are angled outwards. This is a really common walking mistake, so please pay attention to the way your feet are placed when you're walking and make sure that is not what you're doing. If you are, then please make sure you're watching the rest of the video so you can get some tips on how to correct that. When you walk with your feet angled out like this, as you transfer your weight with each step, what happens is the weight concentrates over the insides of your knees, which can lead to arthritis and pain. It concentrates over your ankle, which can collapse your ankle. It can also collapse your arches over time as your weight rolls in over each step like that. Our feet are designed to move forward when we walk. They're not designed to move out at an angle, rolling in with each step. So that is one of the most common walking problems that we see. The next thing I want to talk about is the swing of the arms when we walk. You'll notice when you walk, your arms swing in the opposite direction from your legs. When my left leg goes forward, my right arm swings forward. When my right leg goes forward, my left arm goes forward. That's a natural movement that is not generated by forcing the swing of the arms. It actually comes because of the rotation of the torso. So let's talk about the rotation of the torso and how that affects our walking. A lot of people, or probably most people, think of walking as being generated by something below the hips. But in fact, most of what we do when we're walking, or a lot of it at least, is coming from our abdominal cord, not just from what's below our hips. And so we need to be aware of what's happening with the abdomen when we walk in order to really understand what's going on. And this is what's going to play into the swing of the arms. So when I walk, what's happening is I have rotation of my upper torso, which is guided by my upper abdominal muscles, turning my thoracic spine. So the thoracic spine is in the spine behind the chest. It is rotated by my upper abdominal muscles. So I have upper abdominal muscles on the left, and they turn my body to the right. I have upper abdominal muscles on the right, and they turn my body to the left. My arms are attached to my upper abdomen, so when I rotate back and forth using my upper abdominal muscles, it creates a swing of the arm naturally, even though my arms are really just hanging there doing nothing. It's the rotation of the core that is moving them side to side. So why, when we walk, are the arms not swinging side to side? Why are they swinging forward and back? That is because of the rotation of the lower abdominal muscles. The lower abdominal muscles rotate my lumbar spine from one side to the other. And I can think of that almost as like my belly button pulling back and to the right. That's activation of my right lower abdominal muscles, the right lower abs. They pull my lumbar spine to the right, and they also tuck my pelvis on the right side at the same time. If I want to shift my weight over to the left leg, I turn my lower abdominal muscles to the left, so I think of my belly button turning to the left and tucking my pelvis on the left side. When we walk, we use what we call, or what I call, torsional rotation of the abdominal core, meaning my upper abdominal muscles are turning in the opposite direction from my lower abdominal muscles. That creates torsion, which is a twisting action, like twisting a towel. So one end turns in one direction, the other end turns in the opposite direction. My upper hand is turning clockwise, my lower hand is turning counterclockwise. Torsion, when we refer to the waist or the abdominal muscles, means my right upper abdominal muscles turn in the opposite direction from my right lower abdominal muscles. And my left upper abdominal muscles turn in opposite direction from my left lower abdominal muscles. When they activate together, I have torsion on the left. My left upper torso is turning clockwise. My left lower torso is turning counterclockwise. When I activate torsion on the right, now I have my right upper torso turning counterclockwise and my right lower torso turning clockwise. When I shift my weight back and forth, I'm activating torsion on the left, then torsion on the right, then torsion on the left, then torsion on the right. Now what I haven't mentioned as part of this whole body movement is the action of the hip joints, which necessarily have to coordinate with the upper abdominal motion. So when I do torsion on the left, I'm flexing my right hip, and that allows me to move my whole weight over to the left. When I say flexing the right hip, I mean I am lifting my knee upwards on the right side. That's flexion of the right hip. You can't see the knee lift because as I start to lift the knee up and I use the torsional rotation of the left, that upward lift really just allows me to carry my weight to the left. Now when I go to the right, I'm going to use torsion on the right, and as I lift my left hip, or my left knee using flexion of the left hip, it allows me to lift my weight over to the right. And so I'm coordinating motion of my hip joints and the torsional rotation of the core to shift my weight to the right, to the left, to the right, and to the left. My arms swing forward and back because the upper torso is turning in the opposite direction of the lower torso.